Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Bad Drinks TV. And my name is H, I'm your host. I'm going through the 6 essential cocktails according to this person, Embury, Fine Art of Mixing Drinks, published in 1948. If you don't know what they are by now, they are the Daiquiri, the Manhattan, the Old Fashioned, the Jack Rose and the Sidecar. And finally, we're getting to the mother, of all of them, one of my favorite drinks in the whole world, the Martini. It's a amazing drink. I love this drink. I adore this drink. And lots of people, well, this is where the problem happens. It really is the 10% rule. You've got 10% of the population are going to love a martini. They're going to be very particular about their martini. Okay? And then you're going to get 10% are going to hate it. No matter what you do to a martini, they are just not going to like it. And 80% are going to swing either way. Okay? Now, for me, a martini is the most beautiful, the most elegant, the most phenomenal, sublime drink in the world, which is also equaled by its complexity. It is pretty much 2 to 3 ingredients. That's it. Majority of it is gins, and this is a nice little selection I have here that I like to use. We're not going to go through all of them because I'll be plastered if I did. Unfortunately, as regards to vermouth, I'm in Ontario and this is the only one I could really find that's actually any good, and it's not a bad one to do. The other one, of course, is some bitters. Here we go. There's a little selection that I have. Orange bitters generally, there's some barrel aged and there's a special bitters here. Okay, now I have in here what I call my house blend, which is a mixture of these two. Okay, so I mixed scrappy Seville orange bitters and also a barrel aged bitters by Apothecary to make what I call my house blend. Have some fun with it, okay? There's also a TikTok video on how to do it as well. Okay, so little thing on some books, okay? Because I like to read the books. This one is the Gin Companion. This is a really good one about martinis. This is by Gaz Regan. Great little read. Gin Palace, Tristan Stevenson, wonderful little read as well. Really good thing on cocktails and using gin and understanding gin. This is wonderful as well. I'm really pleased this has actually come out. This is like basically a Bible for gin. Read it, have a look at some gins and see what you're interested in, okay? So when you want to go and find your gin, go to the bar, your local bar, see if they've got it, have an ounce of it, add a little bit of water, okay, just a little, and sip it and taste it. Smell, aroma, everything, and see how you feel, okay? Next up, 2 books on vermouth. I've done this before, but we're doing it again. This is the European view of vermouth, this is the North American view of vermouth. So have a read, try them, see which one's vermouth you want to do with your martini. Okay, now we're going to start making some drinks. Now we're going to actually make some drinks, and you're going to need certain equipment to make your martini. You will not be needing a shaker. Right, so we need some mixing glasses or a mixing tin, some strainers, julep strainer, old style Hawthorne strainer, a peeler, bar spoon, a jigger, some really cool little cocktail picks that I get. You can find these on Pinterest. A knife. This is just me being a little bit of a geek. This is a digital thermometer. It's actually really quite cool. It's got a little red dot. I love terrorizing people's cats with it. It's great fun. And you're also going to need a grapefruit, but I'll explain that one later. But also lemon and olives. One of the most important things for a gin martini, and this is all the elements, okay? So what kind of gin you want, vermouth, bitters, glassware, your citrus or your olive, and of course, ice. You need a lot of ice. okay? Really important. Now the gin martini is all these elements. This is why it's such an amazing drink. It's absolutely phenomenal. Oh my God, it is so good, because all these things combined create something beautiful. And if you really want to see something absolutely phenomenal and a lot of finesse, watch a video or go to the Connaught bar and try and find someone called Ago Peron. He's an Italian bartender in London, and he makes the most beautiful martini I've ever seen and had in my life. So it shows you how beautiful this drink is, okay? So a little bit of the history of the martini. So the martini evolves from a drink called the Martinez, which dates around 1850s to 1860s. That is a whole episode on its own, but look it up in history and you'll see the evolution. But the martini really sort of came in to its own from around 1888 to about 1910, and it's had so many different names. It's had Marguerite, it's had Martinghi, Martina, Martin. It's insane. And finally there was a recipe I found from 1904 called Bradford à la Martine. Believe me, if you've ever been to Bradford, you would not associate that with something as elegant. You really wouldn't. But it was basically Old Tom gin, vermouth, orange bitters and lemon peel, which is quite modern conception of martini today. And then there's another one, and this one just blows my mind as well. There's a recipe in 1904 for a drink called a crisp, which is basically a 50-50 martini. So 50% vermouth and 50% gin, a crisp. I have no idea what the f that's got to do with a potato chip or a martini. I think somebody might have just been drunk and decided to call it the crisp, or it tasted crisp. I don't know. And then in Frank Newman's book, now please bear with me on this one, okay, because it is French and my French is not very good. It's called American Bar Recette de Boisson Anglaise et Américaine. That's the best I can do. I'm English, my French is shit, okay? So there's lots of these books out there that talk about the martini and the history and the evolution of the martini. But the most key thing is gin, vermouth, ice, equipment, glassware, bitters, citrus, okay? All this combined will create something. And this is where you have to decide on how you want to have your martini. Now, I like to have some vermouth in my martini, but if you're not into your vermouth as much, like Winston Churchill, who, by the way, made some of the worst martinis in the world, but he never put any vermouth in it. He literally would just bow towards Italy. And it was just basically straight gin. And that's where a lot of people get upset by it. If you're going to go and chill your glassware, which I think is really rather important for your martini, either stick it in the fridge the night before. You could put them in the freezer. Be careful though, because of the glass or crystal, it could crack. So either get some crushed ice and put it in over the top. So I can do that quickly for you now with my little machine I have here. All right. So you can do that. Put that in there, and that will start to chill your glass. Okay. Now I actually have an ice chilling machine, which is rather useful, but my suggestion is try and keep 4 or 5 glasses in the fridge, okay? Just try, and then it's really good, and it will work. Now, here's the major thing. So while this is happening, put that over there, this is really important. We're just gonna do a bog standard, simple little martini right now, okay? And I'm actually gonna do this one with an olive as well, all right? Dirty martinis will be a little side video. One last thing. In 1956, there was a book published called Bottoms Up by somebody called Ted Saucier, and he introduced something called the Vodka Martini. It was a sad year. I will not be doing the Vodka Martini. Please go somewhere else or watch something else. I will not be doing it. I'll be concentrating on gin, okay? Now, this is where it's rather important. So what we'll do, get your tin. You can even use a Boston tin as well if you want to, if you don't have a glass or one of these little fancy things that I have, okay? But the same principle still applies, okay? This is what's important. It's where you're gonna start needing some ice. Before you even put anything in, your glass is chilling. Now you want to prepare this. You want to get this cold. So put the ice in, fill it up, lots and lots of ice. Give it a good stir. You should feel it, it'll start getting cold. Get it in there. Dump the ice. dump any excess water, all right? It's important. So now it's really nice and cold, all right? Then I'm gonna add more ice. That's where you gotta hope you don't make a mistake. So there you go. So a nice simple bog standard one, and what I'm gonna do with this simple one is I'm gonna use, you know what, I'm gonna use some Plymouth gin, because I haven't done this, used Plymouth in a while. Now, Plymouth gin is very nice, light, floral gin. So I'm probably not gonna add any bitters to this one, and I'm only gonna use a very small amount of vermouth. So this is where I talk about how the vermouth, the amount of gin you use, and everything becomes the element of the drink. So 2 ounces of Plymouth gin here. And then get a bar spoon. Now, I don't want the vermouth too much to overpower my gin. Remember, I've just opened this, so what do? I'm gonna put it in the fridge after I've used it. I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3 small bar spoons of vermouth. That's all you need, okay? And then, what we'll do, gonna do a nice little stir. And this is where you also have to understand is temperature and the dilution and everything all become an element of making a martini, a beautiful martini. If you do it a bit too under, it's going to be a bit too bitter. If you do it too long, it's going to be a bit too watered down. Now this is where we're talking about wet and dry. So it's all about the amount of vermouth you put in. So if you want it wet and really wet, that means you're going to put more vermouth in. If you want it really dry, you want to put less vermouth in. And thanks to Hollywood, bone dry martinis, which is basically just pure gin or pure vodka. Personally, I like to add a little bit of vermouth because it combines really well with the botanicals in gin. Okay? Okay, so for me, I don't know, I do my stirring by how many rotations I do. It's up to you how long you think it is, okay? But dump it all. So you see, there you go, that glass is lovely, it's nice, and it's chilled. Get yourself a olive. Pour it in, there you go. Strainer, or julep strainer. And then just, I like to try and center it all on that olive. And there we go, okay? That is a nice, simple, little, just over 2 ounce martini with an olive and Plymouth, no bitters. Oh, that's just beautiful, just beautiful. The one thing I just love as well about a martini is that you've got to make it as cold as you possibly can with the right balance of dilution, because as the drink gets warmer, so do the botanicals come out in different levels. So the drink just gets better. I mean, it's just, oh my God, there's 2 ingredients in this drink and it just tastes. Oh. Next up, we're going to do a bit more of a heavier martini.